for estafa with unfaithfulness or abuse of confidence. Okay? It can be by altering the substance, quantity, or quality of anything value. Yan. Actually, ang haba-haba nito, but kindly read this one. Always remember lang that relationship was abused in this means of committing the estafa. Okay, it's the relationship ang nasira. Number 2, okay, by means of false pretenses or fraudulent acts. Ito is, if you imagine, Article 315, Paragraph 1, letter B, okay, there are 4 elements, okay, that the money, goods, or other personal property be received by the offender in trust or in commission or for administration or any other obligation involving the duty to make, deliver of, or to return the same. Ito ang pinaka-importante. That there be a misappropriation or conversion. Misappropriation or conversion of such money or property by the offender, or denial on his part of such receipt. Number 3, that such misappropriation or conversion or denial is to the prejudice of another. To pare-pareho lang kasing iba-ibang elements nito. Pero ang always na pinagkaiba is yung relationship. Yung first one, yung by abuse of confidence, there's that pareho silang may application of fraud, pareho silang may injury and prejudice, and there is always a demand and taking advantage, undue advantage. Ang pinagkakaiba lang is the means applied. Yan. Ganun lang kadali ang estafa. Always remember that there are 3. Okay? Yung tatlo, estafa. Okay? 1 is the abuse of confidence. Number 2, false pretenses or fraudulent acts. And number 3, through other fraudulent means. Ganun lang kadali. You can read that in Article 315. In the elements of estafa with abuse of confidence, okay? Teka lang, nawala. Ayan. Always remember po, this one is what you need, what is necessary to prove is the misappropriation. Okay? If there was evidence of misappropriation, the man is no longer necessary in paragraph 1B of Article 315. Question. Jewelries were delivered to the accused, Pedro, by the owner for him to sell them and remit the proceeds to the latter. Si Ana, mayaman kasi siya, si Ana, on the business of jewelry. Binigay niya yung mga jewelries niya kay Pedro and for the latter to sell it. Okay? At saka yung mga napagbentahan, he will remit it to Ana. Pedro failed to remit the proceeds to Ana. Instead, he issued Ana a cheque, okay, to pay for the jewelries. But the cheque nag-bounce yung cheque. Ibig sabihin walang pondo upon presented for payment in the bank. Is Pedro liable for estafa? The answer there is yes. Yes, this is the case of Cheng versus People. Okay? That is Article 315, Paragraph 1B of Revised Penal Code. Next. What is the difference between a syndicated estafa and simple estafa? Okay? In the case of Remo versus Secretary of Justice, okay, the penalty for syndicated estafa under PD number 1689 is significantly heavier than that of simple estafa under Article 315, obviously, because it's simple estafa. Yung isa is syndicated estafa. The penalty imposable for simple estafa follows the schedule under Article 315 and is basically dependent on the value of the damage or prejudice caused by the perpetrator. But of course, it will not in no case can it exceed 20 years imprisonment. Syndicate estafa, however, is punishable by life imprisonment. So, ang bigat-bigat ng punishment ng syndicated estafa, it's life imprisonment to death. Okay? And, of course, regardless of the value of the damage or prejudice caused. So, yung simple estafa, it will base on the amount and not more than 20 years yung punishment, yung imprisonment. Yung syndicated estafa, it's life imprisonment to death regardless of the value of the damage. Next one. Ano tong sinasabi nating batas pambansa bilang 22? Okay? BP 22. BP 22. Batasang pambansa bilang 22. Okay? Ang sabi ng korte sa case ni Arceo versus People, ito yung bouncing check law. Nung nag-issue kayo ng cheque, tapos yung cheque walang laman or walang pondo. Okay? There are two ways of committing BP 22. The first one is by issuing or drawing the check. Okay? And you also know at the time of the issue that it does not have a sufficient fund. So, alam mo na walang pondo, okay, yung cheque na yon. Number 2, okay, the second way or second mode to commit the violation of BP 22 or the bouncing check law is meron ngang sufficient fund or credit with the drawee bank, okay? Having a sufficient funds in or credit with the drawee bank when he makes or draws and issues a check by failing to keep sufficient funds or maintaining credit to cover the full amount of the check if presented within period of 90 days from the date appearing thereon. And the check was dishonored. Here kasi, what is important, ito ang pinakamahalaga sa BP 22 na dapat yung malaman. Sinong siraulo kasi ang mag-i-issue ng cheque, okay, in lieu of money or cash, tapos alam niyang walang pondo yon, walang tao yon. So, is this mala inse or mala prohibita? Again, BP 22 is mala prohibita. Okay, this is not inherently evil. However, it is evil, pero not inherently. So, it's not mala inse, mala prohibita lang to. Here, mere issuance or mere knowledge that you have insufficient funds during the issuance of check is already punishable by law. Okay? Next. Who are the persons exempted from criminal liability? Diba? Alam nyo to. Okay? I'll just give you a review. Article 332. Persons exempt from criminal liability. Number 1, spouses, ascendants, and descendants, or relatives by affinity in the same line. Number 2, widowed spouse with respect to the property which belong to the deceased spouse before the same shall have passed into the possession of another. And lastly, brothers and sisters and brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law if living together. Here, the exemption established by this article shall not applicable to strangers participating in the commission of the crime. Saan nag-a-apply itong saan po nag-a-apply ito, attorney, itong crime na to? Itong mga exemption na to. Crimes against property. Okay? Always remember yung mga brothers and sisters and brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, they must live together. Otherwise, hindi yan mag-a-apply. Yung Article 332, hindi mag-a-apply yung exemption. Also, with regards to the spouses, ascendants, and descendants, or relative by affinity. Yung relatives by affinity ninyo, ito yung mga naasawa by marriage. Naging relatives mo sila by reason of marriage. Okay? And of course, it's of the same line. Meaning, hindi mo siya 1 degree lower or 1 degree higher of the same line mo siya. Next one. The language of Article 332, okay, which speaks of relatives by affinity in the same line, is couched in general language. And the legislative intent is not to make any distinction between the spouse of one's living child and the surviving spouse of one deceased child. This is the case of intestate estate of Manolita Gonzalez Viuda de Carungcong versus People. Next is the crimes against person. Crimes against person is provided in your article, on your Title 8, persons. Okay, first one is parricide. Of course, I know that you know this one. If you killed your father, that is parricide. How about if you kill your mother? Okay, hindi yan marricide. That is still parricide. Okay, any person who shall kill his father, mother, child, okay, whether legitimate, illegitimate, or any of his descendants, or his spouse, shall be guilty of parricide, and shall be punishable by what? Reclusion perpetua. Ito ang technique jam. Of course, I will not let you memorize all the sentence, yung period of sentence. But always nyo tandaan, in case of doubt, kung namatay yung tao, just choose reclusion temporal pataas yan, or reclusion perpetua pataas. But if it's only a property, that is prison correctional. Okay? Just in case may lumabas sa inyo. Kung di nyo alam ang ilalagay ninyo. Kung may namatay, may disgrasya, reclusion perpetua pataas. Pag bagay lang, reclusion, prison correctional pababa. Okay. Parricide has 3 elements. Okay. A person is killed, the deceased is killed by the accused, and the deceased is the father, mother, or child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, or legitimate other descendants and other descendants, or the legitimate spouse of the accused. Remember in this case, in parricide, that the relationship must be in direct line and by blood. Okay? Direct line meaning lolo mo, tatay mo, anak mo, afuko mo. Dire-diretso lang. Hindi pwedeng kapatid mo, ganon. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi it's clearly provided under the law. Okay? Nakalagay ba dyan brother, sister? Hindi po nakalagay dyan. Okay? Except of course for the spouse. Okay? Sa parricide, pataas ng pataas lang, pababa ng pababa, hindi pwedeng left right except your asawa. Next one. The stranger who cooperated in the commission of the parricide is what? Guilty of what? Guilty only of homicide because the absence of relationship. Relationship is very important in the crime of parricide. Remember, okay? Kung si Pedro, pinatay niya yung asawa niya, si Ana, and one participated, Pedro will be liable for parricide and he shall be imprisoned for reclusion perpetua to death, while one will only be guilty of homicide for participating. Bakit? Kasi walang relationship si Ana at saka si Juan. Ma'am, paano kung secret lovers sila o di may relationship na? Hindi yun yung relationship na sinasabi dito sa parricide. In case of People versus Patricio, relationship, whether legitimate or illegitimate, only pertains to the father, mother, or child, but not to the spouses or to sa mga kabit nila. Next one. What is this so-called death or physical injuries inflicted under exceptional circumstances? Ano to? Okay? No, ada tinapatay mo under exceptional circumstances, ada na disgrasya under under exceptional circumstances. Itong Article 247, ito yung sitwasyon kung kailan mo pwedeng patayin yung asawa mo at yung kabit niya. Okay? Kailan mo pwede? Hintayin mo muna silang mag-sex, sabi ng Article 247. Okay? In this one, sabi ng batas, The following requisites must be satisfied before an accused may be excused from penalty of imprisonment. Number 1, that a legally married person or a parent surprises his spouse or his daughter, okay, and the latter is under 18 years old, yung anak niya is 18 years old, and living with him in the act of committing sexual intercourse with another person. Accordingly, the killing of or inflicting of the serious physical injuries, okay, yung pagpatay o yung pag-inflict ng serious physical injuries, pwedeng hindi naman po kailangan na actual na nagsisex sila. It can be immediately thereafter. So, katatapos lang nila. However, pansinin ninyo, the daughter, sabi dito, daughter, his daughter, dapat hindi yung boyfriend ng daughter niya. Okay? Yung the daughter, at saka hindi son ang nakalagay dito. It's the daughter. Okay? Here, the daughter must be a minor. Okay? Otherwise, consented yung sex. So, well, hindi na muna kasali si father doon sa issue. Okay? Kasi may consent naman yung anak. And of course, with regards to your asawa, you must be legally married. Kung live-in partners kayo, this will not apply. It can apply, however, to passion or obfuscation, yung mga nung nabasa natin yung na-discuss ko kaninang umaga. Next one is immediately thereafter means that from the discovery to the escape and the killing, there must be no interruption or interval of time, and all must form part of one continuous act. This is the case of U.S. versus Vargas. Next one. Murder. Again, murder and homicide, parehong may intention to kill po yan. Okay? However, there is only one difference between the two, and that is the presence of qualifying aggravating circumstances. Ano itong qualifying aggravating circumstances? You read your Article 248 plus you read your aggravating circumstances in your book 1. Andoon yung mga yun, nakalista po lahat. So, remember, there's a person killed and the accused killed him, and the killing was attended by any of the qualifying circumstances, that is for murder. Kung walang qualifying circumstances, then that is only homicide. And of course, the killing should not be parricide or infanticide. Okay? What is this so-called death caused in tumultuous affray in Article 251? Ano tong tumultuous affray na sinasabi ng Article 251? Okay? The provision of Article 251 punishes the participants in a tumultuous affray for the death or injuries occurring therein. Ano ba tong tinatawag na tumultuous affray? Ano ba to? Okay? Tumultuous affray is one that takes place when a quarrel occurs among several persons and they engage in a confused and tumultuous manner. At ano tawag nito pag nalipatak pa kita tibagakot. Ay yung maramihan, concerted fight. Okay? Ito yung kunyari, nangyayari sa Tondo, alam niyo yung mga ganun yung, teka, bigla kong nakalimutan yung term sa other language, but it's a concerted fight between organized groups. Nagbibinugbugan ganyan, magbatuhan sila ng mga bote, magsaksakan. Oh, yun, rayo. Oh, anya Tilocano natin, rayo din. Teka lang. Ayun, basta yun yung tumultuous affray. Doon sa mga nagbabasa kung anong tumultuous affray hanggang hindi maintindihan. Isipin nyo na lang yung tumultuous starts with letter T. Isipin nyo ang tondo. Parang ganon. Pero hindi ko sinasabing tondo. Daming tumultuous affray doon na. Para wag nyo lang makalimutan. Okay, o yun, gang war. Sabi nga nila, Ilocano, sabi ko, gangwar ko na English mat ajay. Tata, ganito. Here is the following elements of tumultuous affray are the following. Okay? First, that there should be several persons. Ang tumultuous affray hindi to committed ng isang tao. Okay? There must be several persons. Number 1, they did not compose groups organized for the common purpose of assaulting and attacking each others reciprocally. So basta biglaan na lang, hindi siya organized na team A, team B, ganon, hindi. Basta concerted fight to, pero disorganized yung group. The Article 251 will not apply if it's organized. Okay? Otherwise, Article 249 will apply kung organized yan. And what is Article 249 again? That is homicide. Okay? And another element is that someone was killed in the course of the affray. Then it cannot be ascertained kung sino ang pumatay. Okay? Sino bang pumatay dun sa gangwar na to? Okay? Ang gangwar kasi it's unorganized. So hindi yan gangwar ang tumultuous affray. So it's just a concerted fight between several persons. Kung gangwar yan, hindi yan under tumultuous affray 251, hindi. That's only 249 or homicide. Okay? And always remember, you cannot ascertain, hindi nyo alam kung sinong pumatay doon sa tumultuous affray. Okay? Sa gangwar, alam nyo naman kung sino, doon yung kabilang team. Dari, kung team A, team B, nagbibinubuga natay ti team, member ti team B, presume to be that it's team A ang pumatay, then they will be considered as principals lahat yan, ganon. Okay, next one. Of course, we also have your physical injuries inflicted in tumultuous affray, 252. Infanticide. Sa infanticide naman, or Article 255, okay? What is important here is the age of the person who died. Okay? He must be at less than 72 hours of age. Ang pinagkaiba nito sa homicide, okay? Sa infanticide kasi, the age is very important. Okay? Always remember also in infanticide, if the child is abandoned without any intent to kill, and death results as a consequence, the crime is not infanticide, but it's abandonment under Article 276. So, for example, si Ana, isang solo parent, okay? Kailangan niyang magtrabaho kasi wala nang panggatas yung anak niya. Yung anak niya is kakapanganak nilang kahapon. So, 24 hours. Let's just say 24 hours. Hindi nakabalik agad si Ana kasi walang sasakyan pauwi ng Sanchez Mira, galing siya ng, sabi nating Tugigara, walang masakyan, nag-COVID, nag-ECQ, wala siyang permit, walang health declaration, lahat-lahat. Walang mag-alaga dun sa baby niya. Okay? In that case, there was no intent to kill. Okay? There was no intent to kill, but the death was resulted as a consequence for such act. That will be considered to be abandonment under Article 276. However, always remember that abandonment should be proven first before abandonment should be proven in order for not to be liable under Article 276. Otherwise, it's just mga simple na homicide and pwedeng child abuse. Okay? We also have this so-called abortion. Dalawang ways to commit abortion. Okay? It can be intentional or unintentional. And if it's intentional, it can be administered by many persons. Okay? Mababasa nyo naman kung sino. Okay? In abortion, what is important here is if the fetus was delivered from the mother's womb alive, okay, could not subsist by itself outside the maternal womb or did not have its own life, independently of the mother, is later on killed, the crime is committed is abortion and not infanticide. So, kahit na, yung fetus was delivered, lumabas yung fetus doon sa ng mother's womb, okay, buhay. Okay? But it cannot live independently, and it cannot have its own life independently to its mother, from its mother, and that child is killed immediately, the crime is still abortion. Kung no amoyo aji ayong yung aji agsilpo, aji nakasilpo ti mami kin baby, di ba? If that is still dependent or attached, that the crime is still abortion and not infanticide.
Illegal court.
Opo. Next one. Unintentional abortion. Of course, you know this one. Mutilation. What is this mutilation? Okay. Mutilation is punishable under Article 262. The provision punishes the lopping and the clipping of some of the body. Mutilation has the following elements. Number 1, mutilation of organs necessary for generation, such as the penis and the ovarium. And number 2, the mutilation is caused purposely and deliberately. That is to deprive the offended party of some of his essential organs for reproduction. Okay? Ang importante dito sa mutilation, it's more of reproduction system. Kung hindi to sa reproduction system or reproductive system, it can just be serious physical injuries provided under Article 263. Next one. Of course, you know that physical injuries can be slight, less serious, and physical. Just read it one. Next one. Statutory rape. What is this statutory rape? Under statutory rape, in the case of People versus Biala, this is a very recent case, only decided last November 2015. Sabi ng batas, sabi ng korte, the gravamen of the offense of rape is sexual congress with a woman by force and without consent. Okay? If the woman, kung yung babae, is under 12 years of age, proof of force is not an element. So, hindi kailangang pinilit. Kung kahit pumayag yan, nagbigay ng consent, but the consent is not intelligent consent because she is below 12 years old. Proof of force is no longer necessary. Okay? It's immediately a statutory rape. Force, threat, or intimidation are not elements of statutory rape. Hindi kailangan i-prove na merong force, threat, or intimidation if that is a statutory rape. For a while pa. 1 minute break.